Hey YouTube, today we're going to be talking about RIDGID's new stud and joist drill, so let's go ahead and get into that on Tinker with Tools. Now before we get started, RIDGID did go ahead and send me this drill at no cost of my own. I do get to review the tool, but the opinions are still going to be my own, and I do still maintain full control of the video, but I always want to make sure to disclose any relationship to you. But now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get on with the video. Now, if you've never used or seen a stud and joist drill, it is going to be a larger but higher torque and slightly lower RPM drill that is going to be focused on boring large diameter holes in wood framing like studs and joists, hence the name. Now, this is going to be most popular with trades like electrical, plumbing, and even HVAC, as they come in after a framing crew is done and have to try and fit in all the various things that they have to install into your house, whether it be wire, conduit, or even plumbing pipes. This is going to be a common tool that you'll see out there on the job. Now, talking about the specific drill, this is going to be a 2-speed drill, and I think that's a very important feature on this. So right down here underneath the head of the tool, you do have a 2-speed selector. It's just kind of a dial that allows you to select between speed 1 and speed 2. In speed 2, you're going to be all the way up at 1400 RPMs, which I think is a pretty good kind of higher RPM speed for this tool that's going to allow you to get quick work done when you're definitely not pushing the limits of the tool. But when you need to, you can go ahead and drop it down to speed 1, where you're going to get 450 RPMs and definitely more torque. Now, they do have a 1/2-inch keyed chuck on this model, and that is something that I desperately wanted on this. The first time I picked out a stud and joist drill, I actually went with the 7/16-inch quick insert collet. It allows you to quickly insert and remove the bit. It's really nice that way, but it does limit you to using just this style of bit. So even using some of my favorite auger bits from Flex, I'm not able to run these on my other stud and joist drill, but with RIDGID putting a 1/2-inch keyed chuck on there, you are able to do it. Now, this is a two-handed operation kind of tool where you're going to have one hand down here on the handle of the trigger and either the other hand up here on the top handle, or you can go ahead and install the auxiliary handle, which can be installed either on the left-hand side or the right-hand side of the tool. Now, in addition to the auxiliary handle and the top handle, there is also active safety tech on the tool. RIDGID has included their Kickback Pro Tech, which is going to be their version of anti-kickback on this tool. That's going to make it so if the tool suddenly binds up and tries to rotate out of your hands, the motor will cut out, killing the power and making it a lot safer of a tool to use. Now, to turn it on or off, you're going to move the forward and reverse selector into the neutral position, and then you are able to just click on the trigger 5 times. You'll see a red light appear on the back of the tool, and that's how you'll know it is turned off. When you don't have that red light, it is going to be on by default, and I think most people are just going to leave it that way because I really haven't found it kind of cuts in all that much on the tool. Now, for the performance testing today, I've kind of simulated what it would be like if you were trying to work inside of stud bay with a little kind of framed up section of a wall on my workbench. It is going to be set to 16 inches on center with these studs. And so you're going to kind of be able to see how this fits versus something like this high torque hammer drill. Let's go ahead and do the performance testing, and I'll come back, give you my impressions of it, and then talk about some of the real world use that I've put this drill through and why I'm so impressed with it. So impressions from the testing. Now clearly this is a very capable drill from RIDGID. This is going to be their high torque hammer drill. It's kind of their latest and greatest hammer drill. And overall, it did very well in the performance testing. I don't think comparing these two on necessarily speed is going to be the only indication of how well or nice the tool is to use, because this one does have more RPMs, and so up to a certain torque point, this is going to perform better and it's going to go through tasks a lot easier. Those smaller diameter bits that I was using at the beginning are going to be pretty well suited for this, but I don't think necessarily the stud and joist drill was getting left behind by any means by using it in those tasks. The one nice thing that really stood out to me was, although the RIDGID does fit in a standard 16-inch on center stud bay, this one just fit a little bit better, or even made it so I could still have full control of the tool without necessarily having to try and position myself in a weird way to get behind the drill, or only having one hand on it, for example. That was a really nice case of the stud and joist drill, and one of the main reasons why I think, even though this is a heavier tool, not quite as quick on certain tasks, it still is a good option for those types of tasks, especially when you're doing a lot of repetitive tasks. And then definitely on the tougher task, it is more comfortable to be using this tool, and you definitely feel like it has more torque on tap. They don't disclose a torque figure for this, but I think especially down in that lower speed setting, or even in that 1400, you're getting more torque than what you're going to necessarily see at the 2000 RPM level on this tool, just because of different gearing. And that's definitely something that makes it more suited for those larger diameter tasks. Now, I will have shown a comparison to the DeWalt, and that is definitely a case where it really is not quite as quick as that DeWalt. One thing that really stood out is it just feels a little bit more well balanced, and it gives the appearance of it actually feeling lighter, even though looking at the weights, it really wasn't that different bare tool. That's one thing that was surprising. When I came down here and weighed each of them bare tool, there's only a couple ounces different. I was shocked because in use, the DeWalt definitely feels heavier, I think because more of the weight is out on the head of that tool. And that is something that just really stood out with this tool, is just how much lighter it felt. And even though it wasn't necessarily truly lighter, in practice with the battery on, it does still come in a little bit lighter than that DeWalt. Now, I've done the performance testing kind of focus on its more intended task, and it certainly shines there, and I think it does a really good job, and you'll be impressed by that performance. The other use that I've had for this drill specifically is with that 1/2-inch keyed chuck. It allows me to be able to put anything up to that 1/2 inch into this drill and use it that way. And one of the things I personally have used it for is using it with a 3 to 4 inch landscape auger that is capable of kind of speeding up the planting process. As you may know, we moved into a house recently, and there was a lot of landscaping in the backyard, and that is one application where this has gotten some heavy use in its early life over, and especially where the soil we have is very hard and rocky and not easy to dig in at all. This actually made it so it was a whole lot easier to complete those tasks, and that's one of the reasons why I love the versatility of the 1/2-inch keyed chuck. Now, I don't think RIDGID would ever tell you to necessarily use the drill that way, but I can tell you that it's held up well, it's worked incredibly well, and it has the power, it has the performance to be able to do that in those kind of lighter duty landscape auger applications. I wouldn't necessarily chalk up an 8-inch landscape auger with this. That's not necessarily what this is going to be for, but certainly on some of those lighter duty applications, making planting a lot easier, I think it really shines for that as well. And with the added safety tech, I know that it's still going to be a safe use for the tool because it's going to be able to cut in and should it ever get bound up. Now, the last item that I'll say about RIDGID is obviously you're still going to have the lifetime service agreement, the LSA, with this tool, and you're going to be able to have the peace of mind that this tool is going to be covered by RIDGID for a time. And I get that the LSA is not a full warranty like what you get with some companies, but in my experience, as long as you get the tool registered and you get the coverage started on the tool, you're going to have pretty good coverage from RIDGID with respect to this. And that is something that is always going to be a selling point of RIDGID. And one of the reasons why many of you choose RIDGID as a company is because you do have that lifetime service agreement. Now, pricing on this tool is currently at $349, and that really kind of puts it in the realm of what you're seeing with a lot of the stud and joist drills that are out there. It's not necessarily a better price. It's definitely not a worse price, though. And I think it is competitive in the marketplace. So then, final verdict, I really do think this is a great addition to RIDGID's lineup, and it is definitely a tool that has surprised me with how well balanced it is and just how nice it is to use. And it's definitely been up to the task of anything that I have thrown at it, And even though it may not be quite as performant as that DeWalt, for example, the keyed chuck and various other things have just made it really a whole lot more versatile for me. And that's why I'm going to continue to use this tool quite a bit, is because of that added versatility and just some of the different things I can use it for. It really is a home run, in my opinion, for RIDGID to put out this tool. Now, if you have any questions about this tool in general, go ahead and leave them in the comments down below. I'll try and get them answered for you. If you have any real world use with this or any other stud and joist drills, go ahead and share those in the comments as well. I always like to hear from you and kind of see what you think of these various tools. Now, if you like this sort of video, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Make sure to turn on notifications so you get notified when I put out a new video. And until next time, I'll catch you on Tinker with Tools.